like family.
So I'm going to hit you with just some things going on in the sport to get your thoughts because you, like I said, you've done a lot of different things. You've driven, you had a parts store. I think that's probably where a lot of guys who were promoters and drivers probably didn't have that third wheel, so to speak. But you started the obvious. You went through the USA World of Outlaws deal. You went through the NST World of Outlaws deal. Now we have High Limit World of Outlaws, and High Limit is a big part of Skagit with the Skagit Nationals up in that Northwest area. Do you believe, I mean, I do, that two national series can work?
I have mixed emotions on that, and there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. I mean, I'll
Yep.
just be brutally honest. It may not be popular with what I'm going to say, but you know, let's talk about what's good about it. What's good about it is you've allowed a lot more regional guys to go on the road pursuing their dreams. That was my deal. Growing up, all I want to do is race on the road. I encourage everybody, if you even think you want to do that, go do it. So it's allowed a lot more people to be able to go out and race on the road professionally full time, just like I did in '89 with the USA split. Having 5 or 6 of the hot dogs and 4 or 5 of the upper level guys over there racing, it just moved me that much farther up the chow line every night. And that's what you're seeing now. You got, 4 or 5 stars on each side, and a whole bunch of very talented regional guys are getting some great experience. So there's a lot of racers making a lot of money. And obviously, when you have two competing series like that, both of them are going to try to get as much money back in the racer's pocket and the owner's pockets as possible to get them to be loyal to their series. So that's added more money to the racers and the car owners, through tow money and stuff like that, which is that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is for the fans and the promoters.
Yep.
The bad side for the fans is you're still paying a premium ticket to go to a national event, and you're not seeing all the stars together except for just a couple, 3 weekends a year. You don't see all the stars together. So that's the fans aren't getting to see all of it. The Outlaws, I think they got about 90 shows this year, and High Limits got about 60 shows this year.
Yep.
That's 150 national shows, with the majority of them in the north central area of the United States. I think it's oversaturating it to where the general fan can't afford to go to all of them, and if they do, they can't afford to support the weekend racers. And I
Exactly.
know, I know from talking to some people in the industry, and I won't name their names because of their positions, but there's a lot of short tracks right now that are in big trouble financially because their crowds are down on the weekends. If you book a World Outlaw show or you book a High Limit show, you're paying the premium tag for it, but you're not getting all the stars.
Hmm.
So it hurts the promoters a little bit too. But the promoters that are really getting hurt is your weekend warrior promoters, your small tracks, because now people save their money to go to the big events. And if they don't go to the big events, they got the option to sit home every week and watch Flow or watch Dirt Vision and see all their stars on TV. And they're not supporting the local tracks like they used to on a weekly show. Used to be you go all week or all year to your weekly track because the World Outlaws are coming in Labor Day weekend. That was a big build up to it. Now they can stay home and watch them every weekend on TV, and then go see them when they're in town. So hold on a second. Sorry, I had an incoming call. All
That's
right.
all right.
Um, so, and I think it hurts the promoters too. And at the end of the day, you can't you can't run your business looking through the racer's eyes. I know it's fun to get as much money back in the racer's pocket, which I'm all for that, and it's going to make you popular and all that stuff. But you know, if you don't take care of the promoters, this game's done for everybody. Without the promoters, you don't have fans. Without the promoters, you don't have racers. You don't have races. You don't have photographers. It's like the promoters are the owners of the orchards. If you don't
Yes.
take care of the promoters, your orchard goes away. You have no fruit. You have nothing to sell. Your whole industry is dead. So I'd like to see the split end because um, put all the best. I mean, people want to see Gravel and Sweet battle out every night, not just 2 or 3 times a year. They want to see Rico and Little Hod banging wheels. They want to see Macedo and Sunshine. I mean, they want to see all the best of the best every week, not just occasionally. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next couple of years. As far as will they both survive? I think they both have the resources to survive for a long time.
Yeah.
I just hope that we don't start seeing a decline in the small grassroots racetracks that can't afford racing because they don't have enough people in the stands. And the other thing that I see happening is they're pushing purses up, which is good for the racers. But again, on the promoter side, your cost of running a racetrack goes up every year, especially if you own the ground. Your taxes, your insurance, your utilities, wages alone. It's over $17 an hour for minimum wage in the state of Washington this year. Your expenses are so astronomical that the promoters pretty soon they can't do it anymore. You're going to start losing local tracks. You're going to start losing racetracks, and we can't have that.
And I've talked about this a lot on various, shows on my platform. I'm concerned about the weekly show because in central Pennsylvania, weekly racing is probably stronger than it is anywhere in the country. We have the most fans. We have a bevy of drivers, so to speak. My concern is we also have, like this year, we have 115 shows or something crazy number like that in the area. 39 of them are 10,000 to win or more. So people will not go to the weekly show because what's the incentive to go to the weekly $5,000 to win show? And they can stay home and watch it for $170, $150 on Flow. These shows that maybe aren't the specials go to 40 races a year, and they're good because they're also going to go to the Kings Royal. They're also going to go to the Knoxville Nationals, the high Pennsylvania. A lot of Pennsylvania people go to those events. So I agree. I think weekly racing is in trouble in the United States.
Absolutely.
It's just, I don't know what the answer is. And I'm glad you said about purses. Somebody's got to pay for those purses.
Absolutely.
And I got news for people, whether I don't care if you're talking politics. I don't care if you're talking tariffs. I don't care if you're talking in business. Costs trickle down to the consumer.
Absolutely. And part of the problem now is because it's gotten so expensive to run a racetrack. If you look around the country, there's less and less full-time track operators. I mean,
yes,
everybody has a full-time job and they do their racetrack on the side. I didn't have a choice. When I dove in feet first, I did have my parts store, but I basically sold it 8 or 9 months after I bought the racetrack because I knew that's where I wanted to be, was the racetrack. I didn't have a second job. I didn't have a construction company to back me up. I didn't have a manufacturer. I didn't have a store. I didn't have nothing else to back me up. So I worked 7 days a week at my racetrack. And what a lot of these promoters don't understand is they work their full-time job all week, and then they throw the gates open. They wonder why they don't have anybody in the grandstands. It's because you weren't out plastering the neighboring towns with your posters. You weren't out putting signs up alongside the highways, Skagit Speedway, Saturday, 7 p.m. You weren't out there hustling the crowd. If you go out and sell one billboard on your backstretch for $3,000, how much money did you make working a whole week at your regular job? That's what they don't understand. It's kind of like, It's like you got 1 foot on the boat and 1 foot on the dock because you're too afraid to jump in the boat with both feet. You can't do that. Very few tracks are successful, except the ones that have been in business a long, long time because they're paid off. Very few tracks can somebody come in and buy a track and be successful if they're working a full-time job someplace else and not owning that second business that makes them, higher than normal wage income. So a lot of my friends have full-time jobs. They do their tracks part-time on the weekends, and they're struggling. It's just, but they can't afford to quit their full-time job because that's their income, and I just think to do a good job, if you really want your racetrack to be a premier racetrack and do real, real well, you got to work it 7 days a week, whether you like it or not, because you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com live program. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm going to warn you now, I'm a little under the weather, so bear with me. Again, it's that time of year, I guess. So we're going to obviously have the phone lines open. We'll also have the rapid fire chat. For anybody calling in, you can just dial 1-844-543-8589. That'll take you into the queue. My producer, Eric, will talk to you a little bit before we get you on the show. So before we get to the chat, before we get to the phones, I'm going to hit on some of the storylines over the last 7 days. And I think at the top of the list is obviously David Gravel, who had a pretty good weekend, swept the Bike Week Jamboree down at Volusia Speedway Park. Speed in qualifying, speed in the heat race, speed in the A-main, all of that's self-explanatory. What a torrid start to the season for Gravel and Big Game. They have 6 top 5 finishes to start the season. They have 2 wins. Their average finish is 2.33, and it's no wonder they lead the way too early to focus on World of Outlaw standings. Regardless, I think competition could be in a little bit of trouble this year. Coming into 2025, I think one of the big stories was Logan Schuchart, and no World of Outlaws regular needed a better start to the season than he did, and he's checked off all the boxes after only 1 win and 20 top 5 finishes a year ago with the series. So far this year, 4 top 5 finishes and 6 starts. He also has a 19th to 8th charge. On Sunday, he was also running in the top 5 before he ran out of fuel. And he's doing it all with a new crew chief in Kyle Pruitt. So we'll see how this team progresses now that they are gone from Volusia. Florida's behind them, and we're going to be at different tracks moving forward. Speaking of Shark Racing, Jacob Allen looked impressive at Bike Week. He had a 3rd place finish on Sunday night, came back with a 5th place finish on Monday. And I like what I see from this team. He had Lee Stauffer turning the wrenches. I know it's not going to be a full-time thing, but if he can keep Lee kind of close or a phone call away, I mean, obviously he showed obviously Allen and the team showed what they can do this week if they have all the pieces in place. So if he can keep Lee Stauffer close by, phone call away, I think they can have a pretty good season and win some races. Gio Scelzi, no one needed a bounce-back week more than he did. He had an abysmal Dirt Car Nationals. His highest finish was 14th. He came back this week with a top 10 on Sunday and then backed it up with a podium run on Monday night. He even led laps at the front of the A-main before Gravel surged by, so to speak. So maybe Scelzi can be this year's Carson Macedo. Carson Macedo started poorly last year at the Dirt Car Nationals and then made a point chase out of it toward the end of the year. We'll see what Gio Scelzi can do moving forward if he can kind of carry this success into the Talladega Dirt Track this week. Tanner Holmes wins the Silver Cup out at Chico, out at Silver Dollar Speedway. And this wasn't a case of him getting out front, rubber down track, anything scenario like that. He started 6th and he made his way to the front. It was probably his most impressive run that I've seen from him. And it was only I believe his 2nd start with Tarleton Racing and crew chief Drew Warner. So we'll see how Tanner Holmes progresses throughout the year. They have NARC series this week. Last thing, Lincoln Speedway canceled last week because of wind. And this week, they get some company on the docket in Central PA. Port Royal Speedway opens on Saturday. Will be same time as Lincoln. So it'll be interesting to see that split of cars. Danny Dietrich has already announced that he will be at Lincoln. So there'll be a new opening day winner if indeed Port does decide to run. I know we're in the 40s again. It's always tough to gauge what these guys are going to do. Plus, let's face it, the weather can change in the next 3 days. So we're going to open up the lines. We're going to open up the chat, and we are ready to go. Jump the Cushion, 1-4-10 PA winner from last year that I haven't heard much about this offseason is Austin Bishop. Any idea what it's up to this year? As far as I know, he's still in the 35. I expect him to be, I was actually talking to somebody today. I expect him to be a regular at Port Royal. I expect him to show up at the Grove and obviously like Speed Week events and the specials. So I think it's going to be status quo for Austin Bishop. I actually like how he's come along too. He's, he's shown some flashes. I mean, we saw it last year at Sealands Grove. So Austin Bishop, maybe a breakout year this year. We'll have to see. Tyler, any drivers you think could quickly be on the hot seat this year? That never fails. I do think Sheldon Haudenschild, not so much on the hot seat. I question whether he stays there or if something happens within that team. I haven't heard. That's a guy that they've gotten off to a really rough start. He had a 5th place finish, I believe, on Sunday, if I'm not misremembering. But again, last night, not good. I think there's a lot of pressure on Sheldon to contend for a World of Outlaws title. Let's face it, Noss is on the marquee, the World of Outlaws marquee, and he just hasn't contended for a title. So not a good year last year again. So I think there needs to be some races won, and definitely got to get off. They've got to correct some of the early season problems. Other than that, with the World of Outlaws, none. High limit, I don't see anything, as far as hot seat. So I think it's really early to tell that. Okay. Do we need to look into the seatbelts rule because a guy got a bad start? Okay. I know this has turned into this. I know everything now has to be a conspiracy theory, and I'm not dismissing what you're saying. Obviously, it's been done. Obviously, people have taken advantage of the rule. I wasn't in Jacob Allen's car. I don't know if that was the case. I've heard that people said he's done it before, that this has happened before. Again, I can't remember any that stood out to me. But again, I don't know how you determine if they did it on purpose or if I just don't know how you do that. The only thing that you can do in my mind is make a blanket statement. If you stop on the track, you lose your spot. That's it. That's the way to, back in the day, and the day was a long time ago, you didn't have these rules where they were open to interpretation or people assume the worst or whether it's legit or not. So I think you just make a blanket rule that, you know what, if you bring out the caution, you go to the rear. That's it. So I know it's unfortunate, but that's the only way you can police that. Okay, Matt, why won't Lee land a full-time gig with any team? Does he not want one? I don't know if he wants one. I've talked to him a few times, and I don't think that's something he wants to do. Look, he's been in it a long time. It's been a huge part of his life since he was young with his dad. And so I just don't know if that's something he wants. And I certainly don't think he wants to travel around the country. I think he's past that. So I think he just likes to come out once in a while when needed and spend a weekend doing what he did this week. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't have him on speed dial. Okay. It doesn't mean, Jacob Allen has 50 races scheduled in Central PA. So I would definitely use him here. But as far as going on the road, I don't think that's something he wants to do or he has any desire to do. And I don't even know if he wants to be responsible for a car during the week, or anything like that. So I just think it's not on his radar right now. Okay. Chico Silver Cup only drew 26 cars. What's up? That's a problem. That race used to get 40 cars, I'm told. And here's the problem. we hear about, excuse me, again, sorry, under the weather. You hear about 410s, resurrecting 410s. I think California is resurrecting big events. I don't know if it's resurrecting 410s. Now, here's where I'll apply it to last week. That was a 360 race. 360s are the main division in California. They run them weekly at Marysville, Placerville. Only 26 at Silver Cup. That's that's a huge problem to me, and something that needs to be watched moving forward. I'll be anxious to see how many 410s they get at the NARC race this week, because I think you're going to see some guys who aren't NARC regulars, because high limit's on the West Coast. So I don't even think this week's a good gauge for 410s, but it's still interesting. I think they could get 30, but definitely a problem. I think 26 cars is a huge, huge disappointment over what they've normally gotten for that race. So Cosmos, Tanner passed some of the best cars in the field to get that win. Earned. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think it was his best race, or it's the best race I've seen him run. I saw the highlights, and he looked really good. Justin Sanders started behind him. That's, to me, the main guy out there. But nothing taken away from Tanner. I think maybe it's a good combination. Maybe he just needed to get with a team where he has a crew chief. He can focus on driving. He doesn't have to worry about promoting the team, the YouTube, all the things that go along with what he does. And we'll see. I think the jury's out on it, and we'll see how he does this weekend and moving forward. The Chaz. California just doesn't have a large sum of money being pumped into racing. Well, it could be. There's so many things to do out there. You have the Dodgers, you have the Angels, you have the Chargers, you have the Rams, you have the San Francisco 49ers, you have the Golden State Warriors, you have you have baseball teams, there's so much sports out there. There's hockey teams. I mean, I didn't realize this until I started going back to Bears games, the AHL team I follow, Coachella Valley, San Jose. By the way, you have the San Jose Sharks out there, the Kings. You have all these teams out there. There's just so much to do in California. Plus, they're at fairgrounds. There's a lot of fairground facilities. So anytime you get involved with fairgrounds, bets are off. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get. So I know this. What they pay to win wouldn't work in PA. You get about 10 cars. So I think there's more money with the teams out there. I think there's more teams out there with money than, say, Central PA. But it's just a mentality, I guess. They'll run for less money. That's amazing to me. Every time I talk to Jovan Schriltz, I'm always amazed by that. How about the All-Stars boosting their point fund? Good. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything bad about that. I do think Cale Thomas is the favorite to win that. I like, obviously, the Rudzik car, the Demian Rudzik car. But yeah, 20,000 for the first year. Here's the thing, 30 races. I think that's the big thing too. You don't have to make a huge investment for 60 races, 50 races even, to get that money. So I think the big thing is number of races and the ratio to the point fund and what you're going to get paid. I'll be anxious to see more of what the payout is purse-wise, event to event. I know that when they come to the Grove, I think it's 8,000 to win, which I assume will be one of their bigger events. So, no, looks good for the All-Stars so far as the structure. I'm anxious to see where it goes. John Kiley. Ron asked me in my pool last night, how do you think Pee Wee Herman will do this year with high limit? I assume you mean Reitzel. I think Reitzel, because people hate him so much, I think Aaron Reitzel is one of the more underrated drivers in the country. I think he's really good. Before he got jettisoned out of the World of Outlaws, meaning suspended, I believe he had 4 wins that year as a rookie. Obviously, all-star champion. I think he's going to win races with high limit. I wouldn't doubt he wins in Vegas. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I think he's going to win a lot of races. I think he can win. He can earn a charter. We saw last night, he looked 10th to 6th. I mean, he didn't push the car too much. He didn't push it beyond its limits. One of the things Reitzel's been accused of is maybe being too aggressive. And I didn't see that last night. I think he took what he could get. And obviously we saw him the night before. I like Aaron Reitzel a lot. I think he's going to win some races. I think he's going to take wins away from Brad. I think he's going to take wins away from Courtney. And I think it's a good get for a High Limit. They need a villain. They need somebody who maybe people can root against. I don't think High Limit has that. I don't think people root against Brad. He just doesn't have that villain role. Aaron Reitzel does. I'm not saying I feel that way. I'm saying that's how fans feel. But I think he's going to win races, and I think he could win some big races. Ken Joseph, Reitzel wins minimum 6 High Limit races. I would take the over on that. I'll even go with the over. If they get races in, and don't have a plethora of rainouts, I think he wins more than that. I think he win on the West Coast. He's been out there before. He's had success out. I think he's had success out there in the past. And he definitely isn't afraid to get up on the wheel. All right. Jumping the cushion. Why have some teams made the choice to Lincoln so early? I'm not really sure what that means, but I have some concerns about Central PA this year. So I'll kind of take it this direction. If you look at the number of guys who are committed full time to, say, Lincoln Speedway, I think it's like 7 or 8. Port Royal, somewhere between 7 and 9. Babs is doing really well now, granted, less races, but I think they're up to like 18 to 20. I just think it's different now. I think people want to move around. I think they don't want to run 115 races. I think it's a money thing. I think it's a point championship thing. What do these point titles mean? It's $5,000 to win the Lincoln title, $5,000 to win the Port Royal title. I don't see it as I just don't think it's a big deal to win a title anymore. And I think some of the lower teams have gotten out of it. Trey Hivner at Lincoln, for instance. So like this week, I said in the opening, Port Royal and Lincoln running against each other, it's going to be really interesting. Now, Billy Dietrich and Danny Dietrich have already said they're going to run Lincoln. Now, I don't know if they know something or not about what Port Royal's doing on Saturday, but Lincoln's going to need them, especially if Port Royal runs, because Brock Zierfoss isn't going to run Lincoln. He's going to be at Port. Chase Dietz, I expect him to go to Port. Could be wrong on that, but I think Justin Whittall is going to go to Port. Brent Marks is heading to Vegas. There's 4 cars from the Lincoln Speedway opener. That takes you down to 25. And then Rick Lafferty probably going to Port. Don't know what TJ Stutz is going to do. Is Parker Price Miller between Port and Lincoln? He'll go to Port if he comes into PA. So car count's going to be something to watch. I know we say this every year and then it levels out. We don't have a problem. But eventually it's going to rear its ugly head. So, okay. Troy. Also, back in the day, guys raced on with loose belts or helmets. Wolfgang and company have said belts came loose in races and they don't want to stop and lose a spot. Yeah, there's something to be said for crazy. They also go faster now, too. Arguably. So, and here's the thing at Volusia is a different animal. Volusia is the fastest half mile in the country, according to a lot of drivers who I've talked to. It's also a dangerous place. Ask Casey Kane. Ask anybody who wrecks there. Ask Bill Baylog. You take a spill there, it's hard. I think the 2 tracks that I think are some of the hardest, where you take the hardest hits all the time. And the second one might surprise people. Volusia, always a hard hit, and Knoxville. Knoxville, you take some hard hits. I don't know of any easy ones at Knoxville. So I don't know if you want your belts coming loose at those places. Now, Jack Hodenshield at Eldora had his belts come loose. I know that. And as you said, Wolfgang, yeah. But you know what? We used to light our houses by fire too. Now we're doing it with lights. So progress is a good thing. That's not to, I just think sometimes, but again, I don't know what the answer is. To me, you bring out the caution, you're in the rear. It's unfortunate, but that's it. So, Matt, Port has more big shows. It will pay to run Port as much as possible to be ready for the big shows. Yeah, I mean, look, you have the Weikert, that pays $75,000, and then you have the Tuscarora 50. So no doubt about it. You have the Dream Race, which is, I believe they're going to have, I think they're going to be 15 this year for each one, but you have 225s in a night. Yeah, a lot of big races up there. So if you're looking at it that way and you want to compete against, you want to get as many laps there as possible. I know last year Anthony Macri talked about that because they didn't get to Port maybe as much as they wanted to. And they found themselves coming up on these races and are like, we need to get more lap support. It just didn't work out that way with them being on the road. They're going to be on the road this weekend. They're following the Outlaws. So again, that's a car that's away from Central PA this week. But yeah, no, I think a lot of teams want to get laps of Port Royal, especially with the new track guy. That's another kind of variable in the equation. All right. Why is the 39M so competitive off the porch? I think there's a couple tracks that they just haven't improved at. I think Volusia's one of them. I also think Eldora just not their bag. They got better at Knoxville. They finished 5th at Knoxville last year. So I think and they won at I-70 already. They won at 34 Raceway, a high limit show. I think it depends where they are. I'm more concerned that they don't have speed in time trials this year. That is something that I'm kind of watching. Now it's early. It's Volusia. He's not, Anthony's not especially great at Volusia. So we'll see how he does this week. The Outlaws rolling the Talladega dirt track at Magnolia. So we'll see if Anthony can time better. Look, it's all qualifying. Anthony times well. If he doesn't time well, you're behind the 8 ball, and they have not been good in qualifying this year, I don't think, or what we're used to seeing. But, I mean, it's kind of a smattering of success. Wins at I-70. Knoxville continues to improve at Knoxville. Won at Huset's, and 34 Raceway. But, yeah, I agree. There's just some tracks he's not really getting better at. And, unfortunately, one of them's Eldora, which has some pretty big events. All right, Dustin, in your opinion, what killed Oktoberfest at Hagerstown Speedway? Ooh, that's a tough one. That might be the toughest question so far. I just think the number of races. And it was started to be less attended. It's simple. If you're making a ton of money and the support is there, the car count is there, and the event is good, they're going to keep it going. It started to drop off a little bit. I think the season got longer. I think there's a lot of reasons, not just one. Season got longer, money, less support. Let's face it, other tracks started having races in October. So I just think it was I just think it went by the wayside. It just lost its luster, so to speak. I liked it. It was a novelty, but it just lost its luster. Oktoberfest was great. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the modifieds being there and obviously the different division, the late I liked all of that. It just, like I said, lost its luster. A lot of variables come into play there, and it's gone. When is McFadden planning on coming back to the States? And any chance we see him on the East Coast? I think there's probably zero chance we see him on the East Coast. He's gonna run on the West Coast. West Coast car, it's a Tarleton car. I think we see him at the Nationals. I mean, so I'll see him. So you'll have to watch Dirt Vision, but he'll be back probably sometime. I'm guessing May, June, somewhere in there. Maybe July, and then he'll be over here for 2 months or whatever, and then he'll go back to Australia. It's a loss, I think, for the United States sprint car community. I like James McFadden. I think James is a good driver. I think he added to the High Limit series. Now, fortunately for High Limit, they replaced him with Aaron Reitzel. So I think that's a push, especially from a fan interest standpoint. People hate Reitzel. So I wish he was over here still. He was also good to talk to, was honest, pretty honest, and he's just a good driver. So we'll miss him, but he'll be over probably sometime this summer. Scott, All-Stars are paying $5,000, $7,500 and more per race. Yeah, I knew the base was $5,000, but are they going to, how many of those 7,500s are we going to have? Like I said, the Grove's paying $8,000. What's Lincoln paying that week when they're in here as well? So I think the All-Stars have a really, really good start to their first season back. I think the point fund is good. I think they lack star power. No offense to any of those drivers. They don't have Justin Peck. They don't have Aaron Reitzel. They don't have Corey Elias, and they don't have those household, quote unquote, household names. But that's how you build household names. So we'll see. Devin Borden and Cale Thomas and Spitheller are probably your top guys. Who knows in the next month? They don't start for a month yet, so who knows who commits to it? Maybe Cap Henry commits to it. I'm not really sure though. So I've heard rumblings that he will not. So we'll see what happens there. Jesse, glad they're resurfacing Volusia. It raced pretty good last night. I thought the racing last night was the best one of the 6. I think the bottom coming in, it was very top dominant this year, but the bottom came in. Gravel, of course, found it and knew what to do with it. And yeah, look, it's I just don't know. Look, they're at sea level. So that plays a role. Kind of gets cooler there. If you notice, I noticed this last night, and it's happened. Wasn't as bad last night, but the later you go out, the better off you are. So it's kind of a tricky surface. We don't see anything like that any other time during the year. It's kind of sandy. So I'll be interested to see how that affects things next year at the Dirt Car Nationals. Plus, how much do they race on it through the year? We'll see. Okay, Honda, Ohio, Waynesfield picking up steam. Yeah, I mean, Farmer took over Waynesfield. Larry Bowes had it, and now Farmer has it. It seems like a little bit of a monopoly happening out there. Farmer has Fremont. He has Waynesfield. He has the All-Stars. I know that he has a really good relationship with Attica because of the Attica Fremont Championship Series. So I think, to me, and I could be wrong, it just seems like a very north-south thing out there. Like even economically, the north out there seems to be a little richer than, say, the south. Even if you look at what the cost of living, you look at the average income, it's very north-south. I'd like to see some kind of series out there like that. Of course, I'd like to see Pennsylvania versus Ohio too, but I don't know. Maybe we can make that happen. I know a couple people who were talking about that in the offseason who are influential people in those areas. So we'll see. Ken, will Danny be happy with his new engine program? Talking to Gary Kaufman on the deep dive, they're happy so far. I haven't really said much to Danny about it because it's so early in the season. It's for half miles. So he's going to be running, the word is from Gary, he's going to run speedways, I think, on half miles, and he'll probably run the odds on the smaller tracks. He had an odd in at Lincoln. Looked good to me. Finished second. Now, I thought Chase Dietz was a little quicker, and I think he was way more aggressive on the top of the track. But speedways are good motors. They're very reliable. I hear a lot about them being reliable. And so I've never heard anybody complain outright about speedways as far as reliability and speed. So we'll see. Okay, the Chaz, opinions on the second round of gambling at Volusia. Odds makers are tightening the gaps. I thought they tightened it up by race 3 down there. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't bet on it. I would have loved to have bet on it, but Underdog app won't even have. If you open the Underdog app in Central PA, it doesn't even come up. So there's, so that kind of sucks because I'd like to gamble on it, but yeah, I mean, they're going to learn. They're going to learn how to make you lose. Look, they don't like losing money. The casino's not open for you to come in and take their money. So yes, they're going to learn, they're going to evolve, and they're going to get better. George, would like to see a 3-track point series in PA. Don't know about 3 races every week or which tracks could make it work out. I said, and excuse me, again, I have a pretty good cold. I've written a column and I've talked about this. I think I did a 90 at 9 on it too. I would like to see an 80 race series in PA where, let me rephrase that. I'd like to see 80 races in PA, 20 at the Grove, 20 at Port, 20 at Lincoln. BAPS maybe get 15, and then you have the 5 other places, or however that's divvied out, maybe 90. But I'd like to see a point series overall. I'd like to see the track kind of funnel their point money into the Hoseheads deal. The Hoseheads deal, I believe, was paying 6. I think it paid 10 last year. Think about what that would pay. Now, the only catch is I wouldn't want it to be every race because you don't want it to just go to the big teams who can afford to go every race. I'd like to see maybe 40 of them. 40 is a good number. I'd like to see 40 of them designated as Hoseheads point races. So, and I don't think points at any track are drawing any driver. We see that year in and year out. Just look at the number of people who participate in it full time. So I think I'd like to see that as well. I think it's a good idea. Robert, who is the one guy you really want to interview and deep dive that you haven't yet? Whew. I'll tell you what, Steve Beitler's coming up again. I was informed by a listener. I forgot a couple things. And I was really mad at myself when I talked to him about it. And because I pride myself in remembering things, and I forgot a key part to an interview with Beitler. So Steve Beitler is going to come up again. He was really good. Look, I'd love to talk to Doug Wolfgang. He was my favorite driver, growing up. I'd like to talk to Mark Kinzer because he just doesn't do interviews. I'd like to talk to, Sammy Swindell's a fantastic interview. I know people don't think he is. Fantastic. He's done a lot for this sport, creative wise. I'm going to talk to some guys on the West Coast. So I don't think there's anybody where I'm like, wow, I'll get to him. I'll get to as many as I can. We do have a call. It's Mike on line 1. So if we can patch him through.
Hi, Jeremy. I want to talk about shark racing in general.
Okay, go ahead.
Just first of all, really cool what they did down in Florida. Yay for them. And I don't quite understand the team concept. I know it's 2 separate teams now. What chassis do they run? What engines do they run? Let's start there.
Well, it's Triple X and Newman. They run Newman engines. I know they have somebody else too that's working on them, but it's Triple X chassis and Newman racing engines.
All right. And how long has it been since Bobby built frames himself? 20 years? Yeah,
I can't. I know Joey built them. it's been a long time. It's been a long
I
time.
I helped on a team back in the 80s, and a guy named Jerry Kurtz, and he used to run an Allen frame, and got to meet Bobby a couple times. But anyway, enough about that. Really cool for them. Explain to me how you can run out of gas. Do they all run the same fuel tanks? Is it a decision on how much gas you put in, how lean you're running them? How does that work?
Well, it's how lean you run them. And also, like David Gravel ran like 3/4 throttle most of the race, which is scary. But, you know, it's how you run them. How do you pedal the car? How lean you run them? Obviously, how much you fill the tank. Most guys aren't. I mean, they're running the same tanks. Nobody's running a big one. So I think it's just I would love to know how much David Gravel had in at the end. I would love to know that. Now, if I would have been there, I guess I would know that. But he ran 3/4 throttle. So it's a lot of factors that go into that. But I think if there would have been 1-2 more laps, I think you would have saw a lot of guys running out.
Right. When you say he ran 3/4 throttle, that's something he told you, or you could just hear it, or what?
I heard it in Victory Lane.
Okay, very good, very good. So they all run the same tank size. There's no, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can. What is it? A 28-gallon tank, and you can run a 30, I guess.
Okay.
I do not know what they had on. Obviously, I wasn't there. I do know Axum ran out, Macri ran out, and Schuhart ran out.
Right. Yeah, that's just crazy to me. I was also surprised that that Allen went down there, because I thought he was cutting back on his schedule. And he went down there both weekends, and now I heard that he's going to run 100 races or something. I thought the idea was that he just wanted to chill out.
No, I addressed this the other day on the 90 at 9. He has a 111 race schedule, 112 if you count every day of the Knoxville Nationals. And Jacob, I don't think it's that he doesn't want to race. I think he just doesn't want to have to be somewhere. I think he's a guy, and if you talk to Jacob, he's kind of a free spirit, nice guy, just wants to kind of do what he wants to do. And I think freedom is it's an important part for him. He's going to run 50 races in Central PA. At least that's what his schedule says. I don't think he's going to run 111 races. I think there's 0.0 chance he runs 111 races. But I just think he doesn't want to have to travel and then sit. I don't think he wants to be forced to be somewhere. Hey, if he has a race scheduled at, say, Peevely, and the weather's terrible, he doesn't want to have to go there. He can stay back here and race. So I think it just fits him. It fits his mentality better.
I got to admit, that's a pretty cool deal if you can do it. Kind of like what Brent Marks has done.
That he's done in the past, and now he's with High Limit because he has a charter.
Right, exactly. And they still don't, there's no, what is a charter? What does that really get you? You know that yet.
All I'm going to say is that I'm on my way to Vegas next week for a reason. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I think you're going to hear something on charters real soon.
Yeah, because that's like one of the weirdest things I've heard. Here, buy into this, and we'll let you know later what you bought into.
You know what? I hate the word charter because I think a better word to use is franchise, because it's an asset. A charter, people get confused on that, and it's really a branding thing. NASCAR, look, people in dirt track racing, some like NASCAR, a lot of people don't, but they use the word charters and they think of the NASCAR deal, and the NASCAR deal is not going well with the charter system now. They're in a legal battle. So I prefer the term franchise. I would probably change that to franchise if it were me. It just sounds better.
Right. Both the words charter and franchise can be revoked.
If you don't run the series, like case in point, Roth, the second Roth car, they earned a charter and they're not racing high limit, so they lose it.
So, but we don't know all that yet, right?
What don't we know?
That they'll lose that McFadden charter.
Yeah, I do know they're going to lose that charter. If they do not race high limit, they will lose that charter.
Okay. And that's in the original whatever, the thing.
Yes, I've had I did a deep dive with Brad recently. You'll have to look back. I'm not sure when. And he mentioned that you will lose that charter if you do not race the series.
Okay, I think we're done. My dog Layla says she needs some attention.
There you go. Good deal. We do have another call. Thank you very much, Mike. We do have another call. We have Jim on line 2. He's from Buffalo. Jim, what do you got for me?
Hey, Jeremy. I was listening to Johnny last night while he was doing his best Mike Lang imitations and or tribute. And he was saying that the fuel tanks were 33 and 27 the guys were running.
Is that what they're running now?
They had their choice of.
Yeah,
yeah. So Gravel ran a 33 and he said he maybe had a gallon left. He was getting real low, I guess.
Well, yeah, I know they used to be 28 and 30. I don't know when they switched. That's on me. I apologize for that. But yeah, at Volusia, I would never run less than a 33.
Oh yeah,
because the air.
I mean that's a fast joint, and the air is thick sometimes, and it'll just heat up the fuel.
Yeah, I would not. There's no way I would run a 27 there.
Yeah, but moving out to the West Coast and out of Pennsylvania, how about Mr. YouTube there, Tanner Holmes there, picking up a nice win over the weekend?
He did. He looked good. I thought he drove the best race I've ever seen him run. And, again, I don't know if it's because he had a career. Look, I think having the right people in place is more important than anything in sports. I don't care if it's football, baseball, football, racing. I don't care. It's situational. If you have a good situation, you have the right people in place, you're going to have success. Maybe this is the right combination for him. I don't know. Was it, there's the other phrase too. If you hit one home run, it doesn't mean you're a home run hitter. So we'll see. Here's the best part. It'll play out in front of us. We're going to find out. He's in a good car. He's in probably one of the top 2 cars on the West Coast. He has a crew chief in Drew Warner, who, let's face it, good crew chief. And we're going to see. We're going to see how well he does. And I think this could either be a breakout year for Tanner, or it could just be same old thing. And he just had a good race. So we'll see. I'm not ruling either of them out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. But, staying out there too, what's up with your boy Justin Sanders? He's slumping now. He hasn't won yet. Or maybe he did a couple of weeks ago.
What do you mean he slumped? He finished second on. He started in the 4th row at Silver Cup and finished second. By the way, 4SA, I love that car. It looked the way it looks. He hasn't run the 410 yet. He'll run that this week. So we'll see.
I know. I'm just busting your chops.
Look, he's the best driver on the West Coast. That's it.
Yeah, he is. He's outstanding. But just a couple more things, you need to get JVS on there, old Jovan, on
Joe.
your podcast or somewhere. I know he's an enigma and he does his own thing. But, I thought Ricky Warner wanted to stay home, and then I looked at Rico's schedule this year. What the heck is up with that?
They all say they want to stay home until they actually have to stay home. then they don't want to stay home anymore. It's in his blood.
I understand. So, well, as a tribute to Mike Lang, scratch my back with a hacksaw, baby.
There you go.
Good one.
Okay. We're going to get back to the chat. I hear we have a lot of decent questions on the line. Jim, thank you very much. Thoughts on Rudine Racing experimenting with engines this weekend? Not surprised. It's not like the Ford is a proven winner at this point. I mean, I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. I think it's definitely, I think the Ford, I think guys who are aggressive, really aggressive, like Kerry Madsen had he had a lot of success with it. I think it responds better to drivers who stomp and steer. I think Justin experimenting with it this weekend and Rudine, I think you have to. And you're at Volusia. I mean, do you really want to run a Ford down and blow one up? I don't know. I haven't talked to Justin yet, and maybe that's a call I make tomorrow. Like I said, I've been under the weather a little bit, so we'll see. I'm not surprised though. I don't know what the Ford. I know they're selling them now, so we'll see what happens with them. Dan, what's one event outside of Knoxville, Kings Royal, Weikert that is a can't miss event this year? I'd say Huset's. And I'd say, look, Gold Cup out on the West Coast. I want to get out to Gold Cup. I want to get out to Skagit. It's picturesque. I hear they've done a lot of good things at Skagit. So the Skagit Nationals, I'd say the Huset's High Bank Nationals, which I'll be at that this year, if it doesn't rain cats and dogs and flood out the whole town. I was supposed to go last year. And I think those are the marquee ones that stand out. To me, just to piggyback that, my favorite event of the year is Kings Royal. No doubt. Nothing. There's nothing to me better than the Kings Royal. So, what else we have? Matt, I would pay to see a Fred Raymer deep dive. Yeah, I mean, it's a guy, he's on my list. I got a long list of guys who I want to have on this thing. And I know people probably might not be happy this week if I pull Steve Beitler back in. But again, I guarantee you it'll be worth it. It's a great topic that I forgot. Again, I can't believe I forgot it. I apologize. But no, Fred Raymer would be a good deep dive. There's no doubt I'm sure he'll have a lot of opinions on what's going on in the sport. Ed, interesting deep dive last week with Beitler. There was a lot he didn't say. Yeah, and again, there was something I needed to ask him, and I will say it was safety related. So I want to get him on to do some safety stuff. In fact, when I'm done with this show, I will probably reach out to him. He's on the West Coast. So yeah, no, Steve Beitler, one of the best guests we've had. We've had a lot of great ones. This deep dive has done better than I ever thought it would. I enjoy doing it, long form interviews, because we just don't have a lot of that anymore. And I think they're pretty informative. So thank you. Lee Stauffer is helping Jacob Allen in Florida. Is this for the entire season? No, it is not. From what I gather, I think it's going to be one of these things. Again, I don't think Lee wants to be saddled to doing every week. He did that for a long time. He's been involved in this sport for a long time, since he was a kid. I don't think that's what he wants anymore. I think Lee's a guy you want to keep fresh. Look, I would just keep him on speed dial. Hopefully Jacob learned a lot. The team learned a lot. And now I do believe it shows what can happen when you have a crew chief, a good crew chief. I think it's important to do well on the road. I think it's important to have somebody running the ship or giving it direction. And Lee Stauffer did a great job this weekend. So did the whole Shark Racing team. So I expect you'll see him maybe a couple other times this year, maybe a phone call away, but no, not full time. The Chaz, any truth to the rumor of Brady Baking signing with the All-Stars for Dyson Michaels? I have not heard that one. I would be surprised if that happened, because he has a commitment to that 21 car. And it's a pretty big commitment. And there's races that Kokomo. There's outlaw races he wants to hit. There's high limit races he wants to hit. So I would be very, very, very surprised if that happened. And I have not heard anything like that. Also, he's still going to run some wingless races. So the ones he likes, quote unquote, likes. So probably like SmackDown and a couple of other ones. Any update on Flick, McCandless, and Trey Jacobs? Flick, as far as I know, going to status quo. McCandless, status quo. I've not heard anything on Trey Jacobs. There's somebody I have to reach out to in Ohio who I kind of get my Ohio information from, and he's been on vacation. So I have not heard anything on Trey Jacobs. AJ Flick, I wouldn't be surprised if he's at Port this weekend if they run. So we'll see. During Rack Daddy's Rumble at Lincoln, they did something called the Australian Scramble. It was different and exciting. Why not do it more? Gimmicks have a tendency to lose their luster the more you do them. When you start doing that stuff all the time, it's not exciting anymore because you see it. If you eat the same food every day, you're going to get sick of it. So I'm okay with them. And the other thing, it's kind of long. They have a hard time getting races done nowadays anyway. So let's not make them longer. But, again, once in a while, that's nice, but you don't want to make it a regular part of the program because then it'll get old and stale. What else do we got? Any info on the 39 car? I believe I saw Trone had health issues lately. Yes. Not going to go too much into that, but yes, John Trone does have some health issues he's dealing with. He does plan to race this year. If and when he gets done, when he gets his health issues taken care of, he's not rushing it. And he wasn't a big fan of racing this early in the season anyway. So he's okay. He's all right with it. But more important, we wish him well with his health issues. Troy, how will fast coup with the All-Stars back? Man, that's a dicey situation. I wonder how the whole system's going to come together in Ohio. You have Attica Fremont Championship Series, fast. You have All-Stars. Now, the All-Stars only have 30 races, and believe it or not, fast does not have as many as they did last year, I believe. So they've scaled back their races a little bit. So, I mean, I wonder if something's got to give there for next year. We'll see how it goes this year. I have no idea how that's going to all work, but I'll definitely be keeping track of car counts, how it goes, and we'll see. The participation is going to tell the story, as will the fan count. Scott, be the one guy to get the Paul Silva interview. I would like to have Paul Silva on. That is one I would like. He just doesn't do interviews. Maybe we can crack that. I'm going to try. But yeah, I would like to have a Paul Silva interview. Carl, I joined late, so this may have been addressed. Where will Zeb Wise race this year? Still no word on Zeb. Zeb has told me he is not in a hurry. He does not want to run a local or regional series. He believes he should be on a national series. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's waits until the first domino falls as far as silly season. He's in no hurry. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to race. He does want to race. He does want to be out there. He feels he has a lot to prove. I think he should have a ride. He would have been one of my first calls this year, but he's not just going to take anything. So he's not going to go out there and just bum around in something maybe that's not competitive just to say he's racing. Randy, any updates on Cisney? 0.0. Again, one of my calls this week I got to make. I have not heard. I know he was after a bunch of rides. I know he's been rumored for some rides. I know he's called some owners and nothing's developed yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a car out, one of his own. I wouldn't be surprised if he put one of his own together and rolled it in on a flatbed. Who knows? But I'll definitely be calling Dylan this week and give everybody an update on SprintCarUnlimited.com or the 90 at 9. Tyler, between Timms, Randall, Williamson, who is your bet to have the biggest season in 2025? Ooh. Boy, that's tough. I think Williamson looks really good so far. I was really impressed with him at Volusia. Chase Randall, he's back in his own stuff. He's going to be running high limit, and Timms looks good in the 10. That's a tough call. It's going to depend where they run. Like Timms is going to probably run Husitz. He'll race at Husitz, so he'll win races at Husitz. So national tour wins, I think that's a lot to ask any of them. I could see Chase Randall just struggling early, getting back in his own deal. I would say Garrett Williamson, Ryan Timms is going to win the most races because his schedule's different. He's not running a series. But I think Garrett Williamson showed me a lot at Volusia, and I'm anxious to see how he does this year. When are you going to get some announcers on your deep dive? Well, I had some. I had Dave Hare. I had Johnny Gibson. I had Blake Anderson. I'd be curious. Who do you want to see? I also have Brian Halbert from USAC. So we've had 4 announcers on the deep dive. So we'll, any suggestions, I'll take them. SprintCarUnlimited@gmail.com. Tyler, hey, Jeremy, going to Eldora for the jackpot and Royal for the first time. What should I expect and how similar to the atmosphere to Knoxville? I'll tell you what I like about Eldora, and that week especially, it's intimate. I know that sounds flowery, but it's intimate. The stands are right on top of you. It's like a fishbowl, and it go almost the whole way around. It is an atmosphere that no disrespect to Knoxville. Knoxville's 1A. But to me, if I had to choose one race to go to in the country, it would be Kings Royal Week. It's intimate. They get just as many fans. It's a great time. I really love the Kings Royal. I like the pageantry of the Kings Royal. I like just the layout of the track. And you know what? Here's the other thing. They don't screw you at the concession line. Their prices are lower, and they make it up with volume. They're the cheapest prices in the country as far as I'm concerned, and the quality doesn't dip. So all those factors, Eldora is just the place. It's my favorite place. All right, to Chaz. Kennerdale Speedway has no rain chances in mid-70s all next week. This will be a banger with the Outlaws. Last year was embarrassing. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Now, I know, Chaz, you're pimping out the locals down there, and that's fine. But it'll be an invader parade again. But yeah, it's one of that I look forward to seeing. I know last year didn't go off quite the way they wanted, so I'm anxious to see how it goes this year. I know I've heard a lot of good things about the place, so it's definitely one that I have circled. That maybe we get a rain out here and I can watch the whole thing, but we'll see. All right, Christopher, I thought they said on the driver's project that AJ was running Knoxville. I didn't hear that. Maybe I missed it. I assume you mean AJ Flick. Maybe. That's a long tow every week from Western PA. Yeah, I mean, I'll call him tomorrow and find out, but I would be surprised if AJ runs Knoxville all year. Maybe might have been one that missed. I can't get them all. Troy, when will we see the Sprint Car Unlimited house car on track? You can hire Zeb, but I think he should look to get any ride so he can turn laps, otherwise get left behind. Yes, but no. You want to stay relevant? I get that, but you don't want to get in something that's going to hurt your career more than help it. You got to be careful about that. I know everybody's like, just race. Or, when people, they want drivers like Justin Sanders is a good example. Hey, just run the Outlaws. You should go out. No, it's got to be the right situation, the right timing. My 90 at 9 tomorrow is going to be about Emerson Axum. I'm not going to give it away, but let's just say I think he should do what he did last year. I don't think you need to rush things. And look, everybody knows what Zeb Wise can do. He'll have a ride in time. I don't think he needs to go bum around Ohio or Central PA to stay relevant. Everybody knows he's out there. So who else do we got? T-Bone, any news on Jay Kaiser's 23 and Premier 70? No. Had some information on that last week, and they're kind of sitting right now. So we'll see how that develops. Again, that's one of those things that, and people want Zeb to jump in one of those. Boy, he's not going to run regionally. It's not what he wants to do. So those two cars right now, looking for drivers. I don't understand why in Western PA that Lernerville runs on Friday and it seems like every other track runs on Sunday and nobody runs on Saturday. I think that would be a perfect for Knox Raceway. Well, they have Sharon. They have Sharon. So I don't think people want to run against Sharon or Mercer. You have those tracks up there, and it seems like it's usually reserved for that. Now, granted, it's kind of Western PA, but I think they alternate shows or however it is. But yeah, I don't understand Western PA either. I just don't, but we'll see. Ed, wish Team Ez had a good ride. I think he's a wing. I think he's a non-wing driver. He's in his 40s. I think he's a non-wing driver. I don't know about making that transition at this point. Get Bruce Ellis on the show. Definitely on my list. I like Bruce a lot. It's showtime at Williams Grove. I like Bruce Ellis. I know some people maybe don't like his style, but I like Bruce Ellis. I think he just a very knowledgeable about the sport. He's kind of a historian almost. He's been around a long time. So we're going to take a couple more. Sisney in his own car. I've heard that too. I heard he has one car. Now, again, I don't think he has a lot of equipment. That's something I wanted to confirm before, putting anything out. But I did hear, he did talk. I did talk to him. I did talk to him about that possibility, but he didn't know if he could pull it together yet. So thank you very much for adding that. All right, Jim, at Eldora, it's sewer water for the win. Great race. Really miss Earl on the water truck. Yeah, Eldora just has everything. It has speed. It has history. There's some great races there. It has the atmosphere. It really covers all the bases, and it's affordable. When you go there for concessions, it's affordable. So, Dick Jones, who is driving the Trone 39? Nobody yet. Again, John Trone dealing with some health issues. So when he gets those taken care of, then he will be fielding a car again. But nobody as of yet. Some USAC drivers have struggled with wing and some have flourished. Is it difference the equipment, team, or driver? Remember Tyler Courtney ran wing cars before he was winning a bunch of non-wing races. People forget that. He ran a white 23. He also ran a team car, I think, with Danny Smith or something like that. So he had winged experience. And the other thing is, I just think Tyler Courtney's super talented. I think he's more talented than the other guys. That's it. Sometimes guys are just better. And I think Tyler Courtney's just better. Randy, who would you pick to have a big or comeback season in the 410s this season? I think in Central PA, I think Freddie Raymer will get back to normal. I'm not going to say it's going to be big, but he's going to win more than 2 races. So I think that's a guy here. On the road, I think Logan Schuchart. I think we're already seeing that. I think one of the big things, and this is nothing against them, but organization's a big deal. Kyle Pruitt, who came into Shark Racing, is an organizational guy. It's all about being organized. I think he brings that to that team. And not that they were a cluster before, but I think he brings more organization. I think you'll see Logan Schuchart have a better year. Matt Beasley, who is your Mount Rushmore for PA Posse legends? Fred Raymer, Lance DeWeese. Ooh, Fred Raymer, Lance DeWeese. I guess Greg Hodnett, even though that's tough because he's not from here. I'll tell you what, Lynn Paxton was really, really, really good. Keith Kaufman. So you got Fred Raymer, Lance DeWeese, Keith Kaufman, and then the last spot I'm going to give to Greg. Sentimental. Last question of the night. And should we be concerned about Buddy Kofoid's lack of performance? Not yet. It was Volusia. He's not overly good at Volusia. Now, he was leading Bike Week last year and then shredded a tire. I think we'll know more this week. He's won at the Talladega Dirt Track in the past, won an Outlaw show there in the 11. So we'll see more this weekend. Not yet. It's a little too early to panic. And he's tied for fourth in points. So it's not like anybody else is tearing it up. I think he's 82 points back. Now that's significant 6 races in. But again, it's not like he's 10th. So we'll see. I think this week will be more telling than the first 6 races. But if he struggles this week, I'm going to be a little concerned. Because that's now 8 races. I put the mark at 20. I'd say at 15 to 20 races, that's when you really know what you have this year. And I think, unfortunately, people aren't going to like what they see with David Gravel because he's going to win a lot of races. And that's a good place to leave it. Thank you to everyone for chiming into the chat, for tuning in, and also Jim and Mike for calling in. And we'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com live program.